Different cars have different levels of significance for different reasons, right? For example, if you had a 1970 Hemi Cuda convertible, that car is significant because they didn't make very many of them. You know, they're worth a couple of $1 million. It's significant all on its own because of what it is in the market. However, you have some cars that are significant because of the experience that the owner had with that car over the years. And today we're talking about a very cool 1977 Pontiac Trans Am that we restored that falls into the second category. This car is significant because of how the car fits in with the family of the owner.
This car has been with his family since brand new. Joe's dad took him to the dealership with him and allowed Joe to pick out the exterior color and the interior color. So it was a special order vehicle.
The owner, Joey, was just 3 or 4 years old back in '77 when his dad allowed him to select platinum silver and firethorn red for the family's new Trans Am. How cool is that?
In 1977, the Pontiac Trans Am is destined to become America's #1 sports car.
Silver Trans Ams of that era aren't very common, especially when they don't have the hood bird. Most people associate a '77 Trans Am with the black and gold Trans Am SE with the phoenix on the hood and all the stripes. Well, this car didn't have that on purpose. The owner didn't want that stuff. So it was picked up at the dealership with no graphics on the hood. It did have some Trans Am stickers on it designating what it was, but a very understated version with that silver and red interior. Great looking car. And over the years, the father had made some modifications to it here and there. He wanted to personalize it even more.
The car came in with a third brake light out of a Ford Bronco because at one point in time, Joe's dad got rear-ended in the car. So his dad felt it necessary to put a third brake light in. It just happened to be out of a Ford. The family opted to have an aftermarket sunroof put in 82 or 83. The insides of the fender vents and the sport mirrors were both painted a flat black to contrast the sterling silver paint.
Young Joey soon became old enough to drive, and he recalls drilling out the back plate of the shaker scoop to give the car some air, even though that whole thing wasn't functional, but you know, he thought it was. Joey said, "Hey, I want this restored, but will you guys be willing to restore it and keep the modifications and personalization that my dad and I had done to this car over the years?" And of course, our answer was absolutely. If it's significant to you, it's significant to us. So we were super happy for the opportunity to bring this car back around. Now, when the car arrived at our shop, it didn't look terrible. It looked worn out, for sure. The father drove this car for years and years and years. His son grew up, got his license, was able to drive it. He actually took it to college and drove it as his daily driver. He racked up over 170-some thousand miles on this thing. This Trans Am is powered by a Pontiac 400 V8 with an automatic transmission. Again, racking up all those miles on it kind of wore it out, so we assessed the condition of the engine and decided it was time for a rebuild.
As with almost every project that comes into the shop, the customer thinks he wants one thing and normally ends up with that and then some. I believe the car initially was for possibly an engine rebuild, maybe an EFI edition, maybe some better brakes because Joe does daily drive this car. And that quickly snowballed into a full factory level restoration.
Removal, disassembly, some machine work, rings, bearings, that kind of stuff. We upgraded it a little bit with a Comp Cam's hydraulic roller camshaft and topped it with an electronic fuel injection system from Holley. Painted it all Pontiac blue again, so when you open the hood it looks original, but everything new and fresh on the inside, ready to deliver another couple 100,000 miles of trouble-free service, hopefully. It's coupled to a turbo 350 automatic transmission. It's a great combination to drive.
Here we go.
We got life in it. The exterior, aesthetically, it was presentable. And then once we pulled the layers back, that's when we found the rust holes in the floorboard from the sunroof drainage system. That's where we found that we're gonna have to take this a step further. It went from a rusted floorboard to the car's on a rotisserie getting media blast.
The body on this car needed some help, and we decided to strip it with a media blast process. We learned that it got rear-ended at some point, so we put a new tail in. The bottom part of the quarter panels was replaced, the inner quarters, the part of the trunk floor, and other little spot panels on the fenders, and we fixed some stuff on the doors and did a bunch of metal work to it, but all to make that body shell nice and solid again and ready to be driven, and driven a lot, you know? At the end of the day, everything fit nicer than a 77 Trans Am did when it was new, for sure. Once the body was all sanded straight and primed and block sanded over and over again and really refined to perfection, it went into the paint booth. And this was a cool phase. It always is. I love to see cars go from primer to color. It's very dramatic, and it's really the culmination of all of the hard work and attention to detail of the team in the metal fabrication shop and the body shop team and the paint team all coming together, and the big payoff is to see the freshly painted body. And today we use a two-stage process where it's a base coat and then a clear. The clear is only there to provide the shine and protection for the color. When the car was new, it was a single stage, so it was just silver with no clear on it. So you could polish it up and it would be shiny, but nowhere near as glamorous as today's highly polished and highly reflective clear coats. And when all those lines are crisp and straight and everything fits beautifully, that's an indicator that this is a really nice car.
Trans Am styling is aerodynamically designed for outstanding road performance. Heavy-duty front and rear stabilizer bars give Trans Am precise sports car handling.
Trans Ams were known to be well-handling cars. They have crisp steering and they corner well. But of course this one was pretty worn out. The owner had made some upgrades to the suspension along the way. We made sure to finish all those off. So it had Global West upper and lower tubular control arms and Bilstein shock absorbers all the way around. We also put a little brake upgrade on it. One of the neat details was the addition of a set of 17-inch snowflake style wheels. So the original wheels were 15-inch. Year one makes these aluminum snowflake wheels in a larger size. And the reason you do that is because the bigger diameter will clear a larger brake, put bigger brakes on, but it opens you up to a whole new world of different tire options. You're not going to find a lot of high-performance 15-inch tires anymore. So those year one 17-inch wheels not only look correct because they're the right pattern for the car, the right design, but by lowering the suspension a bit, putting that bigger wheel and a more aggressive tire on it, not only improved the handling of the car, but it did it without losing any of the comfort. Our interior team went to work on this beautiful firethorn red interior. Silver and red always look great. Red to me is the color of a sports car interior. And we restuffed and recovered the original seats. We put new carpet in it, new dash pad, finessed some of the original pieces. This car has that great engine turned insert around all the gauges and the dashboard, which now contrasts beautifully with the silver paint outside. We wrapped the console so it looks much nicer than the original kind of molded plastic looking one.
We worked the center console and put cup holders in it. because cup holders weren't a standard option in 1977. And driving these classic cars, you often don't realize just how convenient it is to have a cup holder right next to you. Are you ready?
Go for it. So when we got close to finishing this car, we invited Joey, the owner, to come out and drive it. Make sure that everything was according to what he wanted, right? He came out with his son, Guy, and we kind of unveiled the car to him in our wash bay.
When he came to see the car, that was an understandably emotional day for Joe.
And Joey's just walking around the car, saying things you're not really supposed to say on TV, but he's just like, just over and over again.
This looks amazing.
What do you think?
This looks absolutely amazing.
The overflow of emotion to see the end of the project, the car that he's known all of his life, in its best shape ever. I think they all hit him like a ton of bricks.
It's just like flashback of childhood. Like,
You could feel this sense of connection, like, I can't believe it's you, it's the same car, but it looks so much nicer. Time was just rewound, and he was just teleported right back to how this thing looked, you know, many, many years ago. It had all just flooded back, so that was a huge payoff. You gotta get behind the wheel, man.
And then it was really fun because we handed him the keys and said, go drive the car and come back to us with any notes that you feel we need to amend before, before sending the car home to Baltimore with him.
So he took it for a test drive and really enjoyed it, which was great. But also that weekend, coincidentally, there was a giant show not far from our shop called Firebird Fest. So we took the car to the Firebird Fest and kind of did a public debut, if you will. And Joey and his son Guy were standing there by the car answering questions and showing it off amongst all these other great Firebirds. It looked dynamite in that setting. It held its own against any one of them. And it was really nice for him to get some positive feedback from the public about the car and him telling the story that, you know, he was a little kid when they bought it and the whole thing. So that was really, really cool. We appreciate our friends at the Firebird Fest for letting us kind of crash their party.
I think my favorite thing about his build is what we didn't do. We didn't put a new shaker scoop on it, and we left the holes that Joey drilled into it as a teenager to pay homage to him in his youth. We didn't change the fender vents and the mirrors back to platinum silver. We retained the Bronco third brake light. We wrapped it in, the correct firethorn interior color and put it back in the car to pay homage to his father. We retained the sunroof. I think it's really neat to see a 77 with a sunroof and not T-tops. And of course, like every mid-80s sunroof, leaked terribly, which led to a lot of metal repair on the floor, but we had it refurbished and we put it back in exactly how it was originally installed.
you put this trim. This is really nice.
One of the big things in the interior was the headliner. You couldn't just put a regular bow type headliner in because, you had a hole in the roof. So we molded a fiberglass one-piece headliner and then upholstered it in red. So it follows the contours of the mechanism for the sunroof, but fits nice and tight and looks like it was born there. It's a great looking piece. Most people will never notice it, but it's a great detail.
I like those little touches because that's what really makes that vehicle an heirloom vehicle, because it does tell the story of the generations that had it previously.
Like we said in the beginning of this story, the significance of this car was to bring it back to how it was as the customer enjoyed it with his family and prepare it to go provide many, many more memories and experiences for the future generations. And by incorporating all those little personalized touches that him and his dad had done into the version 2.0 of this car, we kept all that stuff. The DNA is there. It's just new and young and ready to go again, you know? We were honored and privileged for the opportunity to do this. And if you have an heirloom car like this or something significant and you don't maybe know where to go, you don't know a shop that understands this, reach out to us, because you know our team gets it, and we're happy to chat with you about bringing your prized family heirloom either back to the way it was day one, or to also keep those bits and pieces of personalization with it, so that when it comes home, it feels right. You can find us at v8speedshop.com. We're always happy to chat.